Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. My name is Ingrid Boudet, and I'm founder of No More Noise Toronto. And tonight we're going to cover the Rogers Stadium campaign results. And this has been a wonderful experience for me. I've learned a lot. And so tonight, what we're going to do is I have a short slide on introductions because I have someone else who's joining me tonight. And we're going to do a public survey. And I've mentioned this a couple times now already. And so if you've already done this, you don't need to do it again. If you have not participated, I encourage you to do so. And you can do that either using the QR code on your phone or go to menti.com and enter the code 88542127, and that will start the Mentimeter for you. You can go through at your own pace. You can also the chat moderator should be putting a link in the chat as well. Okay, and we're going to be showing the results. So over 38 people have actually participated in the survey. So that is great. Okay, then we're going to go over the Rogers Stadium campaign, overview of our findings and acoustical analysis, noise bylaws, exemptions, land jurisdictions. We're also going to talk about solutions and possible mitigations throughout. And then we'll do a wrap up at about 5 minutes to the hour. We will also have discussions in between the overview of our findings and the wrap up. We've got a lot of slides today, so I ask you to keep your questions and put them in the chat, and we'll do our best to manage them at the end. Okay, and let's bring on to the next slide. So tonight, as you know, my name is Ingrid Boudet, and I'm founder of No More Noise Toronto, and so I'm your host, but I'm very pleased to be joined by Ayoub Amouche. And Ayoub, if you don't mind coming on and turning on your camera, saying hello.
Hello, my name is Ayoub. My background is acoustics. I've been working as an acoustic consultant for quite some time, and I'm interested in noise control, solutions for residents in the area, in Toronto specifically. Yeah, hopefully I can add value to it. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, you've already added value to me, so I'm very much appreciative. Absolutely. Okay, next slide. So if you don't know about No More Noise Toronto, we are a not-for-profit now. As of 2 weeks, we are now a not-for-profit that is advocating for reducing unnecessary noise in our cities. We're focused on the noises that wake us up, keep us up, and disturb us day and night. And we take a data and process driven approach to noise reduction. We are just over 2 years old, and we've grown to over 1,600 supporters. And we've got thousands of people that support us. We're just still finding each other, I think. We are also engaged in the civic process at City Hall. And so, for example, on Friday, I deputed to the Service Excellence Committee about how the 311 noise reporting process is broken. And I had great conversations with the new executive director of 311 and also the chief technology officer with the city. And so I've created relationships with the city councilors and the staff, and we're also part of the city's external working group for the night economy. So I've actually been hearing about Rogers Stadium for a little while. And so we are also very pleased to be collaborating with University of Toronto, Toronto Metropolitan University, Esri Canada, and others. So why was No More Noise Toronto? Why are we here? How did we get involved? Well, residents came to No More Noise Toronto and asked for help engaging residents. They felt that the stadium was forced upon the residents. Some communities were not informed, and if they were, the information was inadequate. And there were concerts on weeknights. Don't people have to go to work the next day, like 11 o'clock at night, and then not to mention the traffic afterwards. And the goal was to educate people about what they can do if the sound bothered them. So first of all, what we did is I asked one of my geography students here to do a radius analysis. And so what we found out is that if you take Rogers Stadium as the center, there's a 1 kilometer radius around that. And as of 2021 census data, 9,545 people live within 1 kilometer of Rogers Stadium. 3 kilometers is 72,865 people. And so this is based on 2021 census data. We're 4 years later, and I'm sure everybody knows that there's an increased number. And the actual reach of the sound and vibration was much further. I had reports of people 9 kilometers away that had that had their rooms vibrating. They thought it was their neighbor. No, every time they complained about it, they looked at, and it was actually concert times. I also heard to the south, as in Willowdale, that sometimes people heard the crowd, sometimes people heard music, of course, the fireworks as well. So lots of people were impacted. So now we're going to go to the Mentimeter again, and this is where I'm going to be interested in your feedback and your participation. So once again, this is an anonymous survey, and we've already got 38 responses. So if you've already done this, you do not need to do it again, and it is completely optional as well. So I'm going to encourage you to either scan that QR code with your phone or go to the Mentimeter, or also in the chat, there should also be a link for you as well. Okay, so, oops. Let me get that screen. I'm going to just bring that screen up and bring it over here and present. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure here that everyone can see the screen. I'm hoping that everybody can. Chat moderator, is my screen up?
You're all good.
Thank you so much. Okay, here we go. So this is the Rogers Stadium Community Survey. And again, survey's anonymous, and the survey will close tonight. So how did the stadium impact you? First question. Let's see what the answers are. Well, for some people, 10 people, not at all. For 8 people, somewhat. And for 22 people, quite a bit. If you have, what words describe the stadium's impact on your life? Disruptive, loud, noise, traffic. So this is a word cloud. The most common word is, of course, the biggest one. So lots of answers here, and we will end up summarizing this into a little bit of a takeaway as well. And there's fun in there as well, exciting, which is also music, great. So we add some, so this Mentimeter went out onto Facebook. And so I was curious to see what other responses there would be. So of course we have music. So some people are going to like it and some people aren't. And that is where we all have a very individual relationship to sound, and not all of us are impacted equally. So that's important to remember. So how did you have to accommodate the venue and concerts? Well, some people didn't accommodate. Some people had to leave the home. Some people had to leave work early. Some people stayed home and enjoyed. Some people were concerned over their safety. Some people, they escaped to a brother's home. For some people, it didn't affect them. So of course, there's always going to be that perspective and that spectrum of engagement.
Ingrid, your Wi-Fi has cut out your audio.
Thank you.
Or there we go. Now we can hear you.
Okay, my internet connection is unstable. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let me know if that happens again.
I'd go back a slide. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to go back a slide. So ranking the concerts in June and July from loudest to quietest, Coldplay on July 7th was the loudest. And then in August and September, Chris Brown on the 19th was the loudest. So did your windows or house vibrate? 14 yes, 15 no, and 1 doesn't remember. That's fair. Did you or a member of your family lose sleep this summer due to the concerts? 16 yes, 12 no, 1 somewhat. And then were you or another family member at a reduced capacity the day after some or all of the concerts? 15 yes, 12 no, 3 somewhat. And so what caused you the most disturbance? Music, the loudness of it, the traffic noise after or before the concerts, music, the vibration, the beat. So 4 people, it was the music. 10 people was the traffic noise, and 12 people was the music, the loudness. Okay. And so what bothered you most about the most disturbing sound noise? Nothing. Lots of people said nothing. Well, that doesn't quite jive with the previous answers, but the other answer is bass. And that's the thing is the bass is something that bothers people, and that we actually creates a vibration, and there's nothing we can do to ignore a vibration. And so we can put in earplugs for our ears, but nothing can mitigate vibration. So sirens, honking vehicles as well. Yeah, traffic is actually a really big concern. And one person that I spoke with said there should be traffic wardens that would have helped ease some of that congestion. Actions you may have taken. So, did you make one or more noise complaints to the city for amplified sound? Yes. 15 yes, 13 no, and 3 tried. I've tried to make noise complaints as well. It's not always the easiest thing to do. So, if you did make those complaints, were they overall handled to your satisfaction? No is 12. 12 didn't make a complaint. 6 somewhat. Congratulations. And 1 yes. Awesome. I would love to know what that result was and how that played out for you. Did you contact Councillor Pasternak? 14 yes, 7 no. And if so, did you get an adequate response? 2 yes, 12 no, and 17 didn't contact the councillor. And so finally, what could make it better for you next year? Because I don't believe the stadium's going away. I know that's what some people may like, but I don't think that's in the cards. So let's see what could make it better for next year. Lower volume, closed buffered entrance, no heavy metal bands, more shows. Okay, get rid of it. What some people had in there was also possibly free tickets was also something that came up in a previous discussion. How can this venue impact your life less? Sound barriers, yes, and we will get into that. I'm just having another look at the other better flow of traffic. Remove it. Don't need to. Reduce traffic. Fix the traffic problem. Okay, lots of traffic. All right, well, that's mitigated. So what are some of the noise mitigation strategies you would like to see for next year? Don't allow sound over the bywall. Press space to group the responses. I'm going to see what happens when I do this. Okay, so 6 groups found. Noise limits was 1, concert frequency was another, sound barriers, curfew enforcement, tax reduction, and positive feedback. I would like the survey to ask leading questions. Fair? What do you want the councillor to do for next year? Enforce the bylaw, and we will get into that. Nothing, close the venue, and then a whole bunch of other answers as well. Okay, how can Live Nation show their appreciation for you? Here's the give us free tickets, install sound limit, lower volume and monitor. I'm going to press the space bar again and see what Mentimeter comes up with. Okay, so 6 groups were found: sound reduction, free tickets, community investment, bylaw compliance, venue relocation, and ticket pricing. Okay, excellent. And so I'm going to stop this Mentimeter now because I do ask for location afterwards. And that is so that after you see all of these questions and where they and how they are, that then afterwards we can geographically map this. So thank you so much, everyone, for your participation in that. I always find those insightful. Okay, back to the presentation. So we had a Rogers Stadium campaign. We had an email campaign, and this was to help people communicate how the stadium was impacting their lives. And so so 96 people sent emails to all of these groups. So in total, 864 emails were sent, and we use a software program called New Mode to achieve that. And Live Nation, the vice president of public relations, Shabnam Durrani, she actually requested to have emails from the people that emailed her. And so for some of you, I reached out to you and asked for your permission to share the emails with her because she wanted to respond directly. So whether that was positive or good or not, I don't know, but I certainly always appreciate collaboration and communication. So what we did is we also collected sound level meter data, and we were at 4 locations around the stadium. So 1 up at the Allen and Shepherd area, number 2 down in the Ancaster area, number 3 over in Balmoral area, and then number 4 over in Grand Ravine Park. And so what did we find? Well, the meters, so this is an example of what the meter data looks like. And so this is actually from location number 2. And I just wanted to show you that this is how amplified sound shows up in the meters. So you have basically, so this is beforehand. So this is like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So there's traffic, there's all these kind of things coming up here. And then here's a little bit of an elevation. And so that can very well be where the concert started. And then here was possibly some quieter music. And then here is Oasis coming on. And you can really see the moments where it was a little bit quiet, where it got loud, and also the fireworks at the end. So that's how the data looks. And so if so what we also did was I had a quick look. So we do, anybody that's worked with equipment knows that sometimes things happen, and something happened with location number 3. And so we only got data for the first night for the Chris Brown, and then we didn't have data after that. But I did want to make sure to have a good measurement from them. So we went back and got one for Hosier, where I had picked up the meters for all the other ones. And so here is where you can see. So location 1 was 690 meters away from the stadium. Location 2, 1641, so 1.6 kilometers. Location 3, 1.2 kilometers, and location 4, 1.8 kilometers, almost 2 kilometers away. And these are the averages. So LEQ is loosely defined as an average. And so as you can see here, like in the so again, this is the number 2 is the Ancaster area, which is a very quiet residential area. It was actually not all that loud per se, but going back to that previous image, this may not be loud, but it could certainly be disturbing to people who are trying to go to sleep at, here's 9 o'clock, here's 10 o'clock. So that's the thing that we're trying to balance. Okay, so you will be getting a copy of this deck, so I'm not going to go through this all in detail. And Ayub is going to go further into details on his analysis for each location. And I think we are at that time now. Awesome. So Ayub, you should be able to, do you want to just share your screen, or you want to just tell me when to forward the slides?
Yeah, I can share my screen then.
Okay,
Yeah, definitely.
I will stop sharing.
Okay.
Excellent.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Okay, and then we will spotlight you.
Yep, and let me know you can see on screen again.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so yeah, I'll be presenting the acoustical analysis for this noise study. So first of all, I'll touch on the like measurements procedure, point of reception. We do have 4 properties around the Rogers Stadium, and also the measurement results, and we'll end up with a noise mitigation plan and some of the recommendations. So for the measurements, so we do have a sound level meter that we used with integrated sound measurements capability. We wanted to have like a slow time constant settings for consistent readings before and after the measurements. So we use a sound level meter for as a 60 inches height. Each measurement with a windscreen over it, just to make sure that we have accuracy. And we do calibrate the sound level meter before and after the measurements. So as I mentioned, so there's our 4 properties. So I mentioned here like point 1, the point of reception, meaning where there is a receiver to measure the sound level. So the positions adjacent to the properties, we do have 4 of them. And then the location at each property's backyard, front yard, or balcony. And you see the table that we have 4 points of reception. Number one being the 9th floor balcony, and then the backyard, and also the front yard. And then you see the distance from the Rogers Center. So for the results, so we do have an average LAQ, which is A-weighted sound level, meaning the average over time period. So you see the table that has the start time and end time, and as the sound pressure level fluctuates, but we do have an average. So for point number one, I do have to mention that there is some tonal type and also high pitch noises. That's like because of the background noise. So for point one, we're at 68.5 dBA. So we do have a dBA level and also dBc just to account for the low frequency impact. So point two, we're at 50.3 dBA. And just to explain, the A-weighted, it means to account for the perception of the human ear, basically. And the point three, we're at the 51.4 in this area, a little bit far away from the stadium. And point number four, I don't mention the address with for privacy reasons. So we're at 58.4 dBA. So for the location number one, so we had reflection of the hard surfaces, which impacted the noise level. You can see here I will represent the minimum level, maximum level, and also the peak sound level. So high noise level, you can see that acoustic envelope, and there is also semi-periodic pattern over time, but with high noise levels. Even though the location that wasn't facing 100% the stadium. For location number two, so there is some soft around the measurement area. There is a soft surfaces, so there's like some acoustic absorption, less reflection for this location, even though there is some background noise. And you can see that specifically on August 20th, so you see that there is around this area here, you see there is some background noise. For location number three, there is a leafy backyard with background noise, but that was an elevated balcony. I do have to mention that there is some noise masking effect that you'll see that you can see here from the min and the max and also the peak levels. And the last location, which is the property, number four. So there is reflection of noise, so because of the hard surfaces around the area, and this is facing directly the stadium. There's also low pitch noise. You can see that pattern on the here on the right side. But there's also I would have to mention that it's it's characterized by low frequency noise at this location. So for the noise mitigation plan, so we there's a lot of things that we can do from a policy perspective, but also from noise measurement perspective as well. So the first one is to amend the City of Toronto's noise bylaw regarding the noise exemption permits, and also to increase the fee to obtain to get the noise exemption permit for all applicants. We thought we should also engage with all stakeholders, being the residents in the area, in the process of obtaining an exemption, so that they can voice their concerns and provide feedback based on the based on the noise bylaw requirements. So we do have to require all applicants to submit a report if there is some deviations with the noise bylaw. That will be from Live Nation. Make concert extensions restricted beyond 11 p.m. That shouldn't be allowed. And also build a noise barrier around the stadium, especially the Ancaster community around south, we'd say south side of the stadium. For recommendations, so we do advocate for area sound level monitoring. This is an like advanced approach to noise bylaw enforcement and determine that's an area where there is some work to do to clearly identify what is the noise sensitive area, a property line versus a noise sensitive area. And lastly, utilize mapping technology to contribute to smart city planning with regards to community noise and noise pollution, especially in Toronto. I think that's all the recommendations that I have here.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Ayub. Much appreciated. If you want to stop sharing, I
Yeah,
will
sure.
start again. That's great. Thank you. Okay, and so now what I did was I took a deep dive into the land jurisdictions, noise bylaws, and exemptions. So first, what I wanted to do was understand the lay of the land. Who owns what? And there was a lot of discussion around that. And thank you again to the engaged residents here online and also that we met in person there. Here's the answers that we found. And so in other words, so there's federal land, all the land that has that's in the colored area. And so then south of Downs View East, so this area right in the corner between Allen and Shepherd, is the Department of National Defense. So those are two both federally owned properties. Municipally, we have south of Allen West is the TTC yards for Wilson Station and for TTC. And so my understanding then is that in these dotted lines here, that's where Northcrest Development is, that's their land. And so Northcrest is actually the investment or the entity that was created to develop these Downsview lands. So to me, this is the property line. And so that is also then where measurements should be taken from. And so I'm just going to show these slides quite quickly to walk you through a little bit of a process here. So first of all, the amplified sound noise bylaw. What is it just from the get-go? So first of all, so it's the first section in the noise bylaw. No person shall emit or cause or permit the emission of amplified sound or instrument sound measured with a sound level meter at an outdoor point of reception in a living area. And that's, I just want to highlight that in a living area. So this is then basically from a residential point of reception. And so the idea, so then here it says that the sound level expressed in terms of LEQ for a 10-minute period should not exceed 50 dBA or 65 dBc from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. So, or 55 dBA or 70 dBc from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. So that's during the day. So the thing was that Live Nation applied for a noise exemption from those bylaws. And so how does that work? Well, there's an application and an assessment piece. And so what happens here is that the noise exemption permits are generally issued for amplified sound and construction activities. There's actually 5 different things, but amplified sound is one of them. And they are assessed against the screening criteria that you see here. And so as you can see, they have 3 levels, level 3, 2, and 1, high, medium, and low impact. And here's how they vet them, right? They've got numbers assigned to each one of these. And the first thing is what expected attendance for the event? Greater than 2,000? Yes, by a magnitude. What type of equipment amplification will be used? I'm sure that there were multiple. Will the event be using subwoofers as part of their equipment? Yes. And is this a music-focused event, concert or event? Yes. So that equals 10 out of 10. But yet I want to draw your attention. So greater than 2,000. So that would be, I would think that they should actually have a little bit of a band here, 2,000 to 5,000. Like how many people actually come to a street festival, let's say, or a BIA event or something like that? That could be 2,000 to 5,000, but I'm pretty sure it's not 50. So that was the first thing that I looked at, was the screening criteria. The next thing is that when they apply, then when they get there, when that is granted, so they have 3 weeks. So there is, so I'm just gonna go back here. So level 1 and level 2 go to the counselor for approval. And if they don't hear back from the counselor, they're approved. Level 3 goes to the councillor for approval, and they need to actually get the approval. The problem is that that approval actually only is required about 3 to 4 weeks before the event. So that's a little soon, or close to the event, when you have booked Oasis and all of these big names. So it gets approved. I went to the Toronto Open Data Portal and pulled the 311 or pulled the noise exemption applications. And so here I basically filtered it for Rogers Stadium, and here I got the events. And here it says that they need to, that it looks like in all only System of a Down had to adhere to a noise mitigation plan. My understanding is that all of these events should have had a noise mitigation plan. Maybe they did, and maybe there was just some sloppy copying and pasting going on here because it kind of looks that way. But why wasn't that put in here? And then the other thing was that each one of these, and I didn't copy the whole spreadsheet, but Live Nation was only charged per band, not per event. So when there was multiple events, they only got charged once. So basically the city missed out on making an extra $4,000 in revenue from Live Nation. So that's just another one of those things. It's like, okay, this is not the way it should be, in my mind. So then they also need to submit site plan and measurements. And the conditions of these measurements clearly state that the lot line of where the event or activity is occurring is the boundary for the noise exemption permit, and then the start of the noise sensitive area. And so here, and so this is something that I really want to draw the attention to, is that there was a whole bunch of, there's always talk about, well, where do we measure the sound from? Where's that boundary? And so is it the point of reception in a living area, or is it the lot line, or is it the source? Is it the stage? Like, where is it? And so this is something that isn't very clear. But then I found this clarity within the conditions for the noise exemption permit. So this is something to me that the city really needs to rectify and clear between what happens when it is, let's say, an amplified sound noise report from a restaurant or a bar downtown, or anywhere for that matter, or a festival or Rogers Stadium. This certainly is something that is an issue within the process itself. Again, I actually think that the city, they are trying their very best, but they actually inherited processes and structures that don't work for Live Nation and that don't work for Rogers Stadium for this type of event. And actually, they don't work for a lot of things that have to do with amplified sound. So the other thing about the conditions of the permit is communication to the residents. And also part of the permitting process is communication with the local community. The permit holder must distribute a notice of the exemption permit in a form and manner satisfactory to the executive director to those within 120 meters of the activity at least 7 days prior to the start of the event or activity. Nobody lives within 120 meters. So that is also something that needs to be adjusted for Rogers Stadium. Is simply ineffective. And when we talked with people, some people to the south end said that they were involved, other people to the west or the east said they weren't. So there was clearly an uneven distribution of communication. So in addition to what some of the things that Brekke mentioned, there should be a separate noise exemption process for this type of venue and events. Live Nation should be charged for each concert. Advance notice to the local councillor or other elected officials to hold public engagement events. I think a lot of this could have been mitigated if there was better communication. The noise exemption application should be due upon the booking of the concert, not 3 weeks before the event. I actually feel for Councillor Pasternak. I don't think he had a choice. He had to sign it. What were the choices that he really had? He was between a rock and a hard place. So that's not on him. That is on the process. The noise mitigation plan needs to be clearly stated and communicated to the residents. In today's day and age, they should have been able to have online meetings, in-person meetings, recorded videos that people could access. There's lots of ways to communicate with people, and I think they should have done better. And expand that communication boundary up to 3 kilometers away, maybe even further. And then again, so to Ayub's point, was automated sound level monitoring put in place to reduce the burden on the city. There was lots. I heard about bylaw officers all around and all that stuff. Imagine if there was, so area sound level monitoring is basically where a unit is plugged into the top of a light post. It has power. It can transmit the sound level data directly to the bylaw officers. And then there is no, you still have to have some roaming for sure, but you just have that historical and just-in-time notification. And for amplified sound, the DBC level should be 100, not 105. When all the other amplified sound measurements only have 15 decibels of difference between dBA and DBC, somehow the noise exemption gives an extra 5 decibels of DBC. And the DBC is that low frequency that Ayub was talking about that we have no defense from. And we're just going to talk quickly about next steps here. So what are we going to do with this information? Well, I am planning on sending this information out to everyone who was on that email list. And also, additionally, the Economic Development and Culture Office at the City of Toronto, the Visitor Economy Office, they're the ones that coordinate the night economy external working group, and also the media. And I'm going to encourage the community to continue to organize and for people to join the Amplified Sound Working Group that we have. So as No More Noise, the top 2 noise sources that I always hear about, by far and away, number 1 is motor vehicle noise, all the illegal mufflers on our streets, and number 2 is amplified sound. And I believe it's not because amplified sound is actually such a big problem, it's that the enforcement and the monitoring of it is the actual problem. I'm not going to dive into that, but I hope that people here can join. We meet once a month for the Amplified Sound Working Group, and that we can coordinate. I had meetings today with the folks on Toronto Island, and they're dealing with their own version of amplified sound issues with the party boats that happen, and also now private boats that seem to raft together off the island and pump out their music into the residential area as well, and across the park. So to wrap up, please visit our website. We are nomoreNoiseToronto.com and check out our events. We are starting online orientation meetings next month and drop-in sessions so that people can stay informed. As I mentioned, we have working groups. You can sign up for Noise News. There's going to be some links in the chat shortly, or they're already there. And please, if you are so inclined, please make a donation. We thrive by donation, and you're able to make a tax-deductible donation through our partners at the Small Change Fund. And so with that, I thank you very much for your attendance tonight. And let's just create a better Toronto by reducing noise and maybe having some good music as well. But first of all, reducing noise and having good sleeps. So with that,